Again, we reground ourselves here in our highest values. Love is the center and foundation of this faith. Love is the power that holds us together as a community. As we enter into worship, then let us open our hearts to the healing power of liberating love. Because love is not only something we receive, something we practice in community. Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love. Let us be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. As we continue to listen and learn, to act and grow, may each unfold in wholeness, both deeply loving and truly loved. As is our custom, if you'd like to come and light a candle for a joy, a challenge, or just to bring more light into this room, please do so while we sit in stillness listening to the prelude.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may your fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Please rise in body or spirit for our chalice lighting and spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting this morning is by Adam Slate, called Honoring Our Common Connection and Our Uniqueness. We gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals: love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, equity. Yet look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Each face represents an individual, every one of us with our own story, needs, strengths, and faults. We light our chalice today, honoring our common connection and also the uniqueness that lives within each of us. Join me as together we remind ourselves of the affirmation that is a cornerstone of our free faith tradition. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. You may be seated. Words for our opening thought is Song of Myself, 1892 version by Walt Whitman, number 44. It is time to explain myself. Let us stand up. What is known, I strip away. I launch all men and women forward with me into the unknown. The clock indicates the moment, but what does eternity indicate? We have thus far exhausted trillions of winters and summers. There are trillions ahead and trillions ahead of them. Births have brought us richness and variety, and other births will bring us richness and variety. I do not call one greater and one smaller. That which fills its period and place is equal to any. Were mankind murderous or jealous upon you, my brother, my sister? I am sorry for you. They are not murderous or jealous upon me. All has been gentle with me. I keep no account with lamentation. What have I to do with lamentation? I am an acme of things accomplished, and I an encloser of things to be. My feet strike an apex of the apices of the stairs. On every step bunches of ages, and larger bunches between the steps. All below duly traveled, and still I mount and mount. Rise after rise bow the phantoms behind me. Afar down I see the huge first nothing. I know I was even there. I waited unseen and always, and slept through the lethargic mist, and took my time, and took no hurt from the fetid carbon. Long I was hugged close, long and long. Immense have been the preparations for me, faithful and friendly the arms that have helped me. Cycles ferried my cradle, rowing and rowing like cheerful boatmen. For room to me, stars kept aside in their own rings. They sent influences to look after what was to hold me. Before I was born out of my mother, generations guided me. My embryo has never been torpid, nothing could overlay it. For it the nebula cohered to an orb, the long, slow strata piled to rest it on. Vast vegetables gave it sustenance, monstrous sauroids transported it in their mouths and deposited it with care. All forces have been steadily all forces have been steadily employed to complete and delight me. Now on this spot I stand with my robust soul.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes tonight. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they asked what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to love. Tell them I said yes to love.
Walt Whitman writes our first reading in the poem Miracles. Why, who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles, whether I walk the streets of Manhattan, or dart my sight over the roofs of houses towards the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or stand under trees in the woods, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love, or sit at table at dinner with the rest, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car, or watch honeybees busy around the hive of a summer forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or birds, or the wonderfulness of insects in the air, or the wonderfulness of the sundown,
or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. These, with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles, the whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place. To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle. Every square yard of the surface of the earth is spread with the same. Every foot of the interior swarms with the same. To me, the sea is a continual miracle. The fishes that swim, the rocks, the motion of the waves, the ships with men in them. What stranger miracles are there? Our practices this morning come from In Betweenness by Michel Legrave. We, you and I, are in between right now. In between what was and what will be. In between who we were and who we will become. In between letting go and embracing. In between saying hello and saying goodbye. In betweenness, it's a thing. In betweenness is a time of fullness, a time of anticipation, a time of hope, a time of worry, a time of sadness. In betweenness is a time of waiting. Waiting for news, waiting for departure, waiting for arrival, waiting for death, waiting for life. In between us is a time of transformation, a time of reflection, a time of action, a time of growing, a time of becoming. During this time of in-betweenness, of knowing and not knowing, let us enter into the silence together. Amen and blessed be. Please join me in a minute of silence. Our second reading is another poem, Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul.
I was a bit apprehensive to do this today because the last time I was supposed to speak, I ended up in the hospital having open heart surgery 3 days before, on Friday before the Sunday. So I didn't give that sermon that Sunday. I did, that was the second to the last time because I did it a few months later. But anyway, I'm here. Correction to the bulletin, the description of the bulletin last week, it was supposed to say that a lot of people see this as a philosophy of doom and gloom. That doom and gloom was left out. But, and there is a good bit of doom and gloom in existentialism, but that's not really what I'm emphasizing, though I'm going to talk about that too. It is a philosophy of individualism. It denies the idea that there is any essential human nature. We are free to create our own selves through our own choices and actions, rather than being determined for us by something outside ourselves. Our self is not determined by outside influences such as society, religion, or fate. Each individual is not only free, but responsible for his or her own feelings, attitudes, beliefs. We make our own choices in whatever situation we find ourselves. Though it was started really by Søren Kierkegaard in the 17th or 18th century, it became popular in France following World War II. Imagine yourself being a farmer in France in the early 1900s, and war came to your farm and destroyed everything. The Germans and the French fought over your land. Your own troops, as well as the Germans, destroyed your buildings, killed your cattle, everything. After the war was over, you rebuilt that farm, and a few years later, World War II happened. Same thing. Pretty discouraging. Would you be able to rebuild again? I don't know. The devastation of the two world wars, especially World War II, gave rise to atheistic existentialism in France, especially after World War II. Didn't catch on here for a long time because right after World War II, we rebuilt our economy. We were in the process of rebuilding it during the war. We really, truly had a economic boom after the war. But France and Germany had a long time to go, and other countries in Europe had a long time to get back to normal. Two main proponents of atheistic existentialism were Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. They mostly expressed their philosophy through their literature, their plays and stories. For example, one story by Jean-Paul Sartre, The Wall, is about a man who has been a rebel, and he is, along with other rebels, are captured and tortured and made to sit all night in a cold, barren barn. We never know who the captors are or who the captives are, really, just that they're on the opposite sides. The main character in the story is told by the captors that if he would give up his best friend's name, who was the leader of a guerrilla group, if he'd give up his location, he'd be set free. We gave him a false location. And so all night he's worried that, come dawn, they're going to execute him along with other people because he gave him a false place. In the morning they let him go. His friend, the rebel leader, had moved to that location. So they were able to capture him. Just, total accident. And it expresses one of the great tenets of existentialism. A lot of things happen by accident. One of the main tenets of existentialism has to do with reason. Most philosophies are based on reason, whether it's religious or just about the world in general. But it really doesn't cover everything. Without it, we wouldn't have a lot of modern conveniences. We wouldn't have an understanding of the world that we do, or the space program. We wouldn't have logic. We wouldn't have navigation, science, math, many other things that we depend on in our daily lives are, dependent upon reason. But reason cannot deal with many other issues such as emotions, feelings, joys, despair, fear and trembling. It cannot deal with all these emotional things. Reason cannot explain war. Sure, we try. We say the Russians want to take over Ukraine because they feel it's their land and they need it back. But they don't need it. They just want it. There's no reason to it. We have genocide in many parts of the world. In Africa, Boko Haram, and I'm not going to try to name all the different groups that go around killing people, but there are many of them. In our own culture, we have a lot of muggings and people killing each other for seemingly no reason at all. We've had, over the last few years, a number of different viruses that have become worldwide, such as SARS, Ebola, and the most devastating of all, COVID, which we're still suffering from to some extent. Our own church was reduced to meeting online, not here at the chapel. Many stores and other businesses were closed, and a lot of offices, government offices and everything else were closed for a long time during COVID till we got a handle on it. We've had a lot of mass shootings in this country in the last few years. They seem to be growing, weekly. The most recent that was near us was in Allen, the one that I know of, just the Allen Shopping Mall, just a few miles south of here. We've had other mass shootings in various parts of the country. There's no place that seems safe anymore. Some of them have increased due to the violence in Israel and Gaza right now. It's spread over to this country too. Our Arab immigrants and our Jewish population are having trouble dealing with each other here because of what's going on at in the Middle East. We have storms, earthquakes, all sorts of natural disasters. Right now we have a big wildfire in West Texas, Panhandle. That's what was the latest count on the number of acres. It's just thousands of acres, millions. And we've never gotten over our past in this country in terms of racism. We still do not treat all people in this country equally, either in society or in government. People who are black or Middle Eastern or some other group are often can't think of the word. Marginalized. Yeah, marginalized is a good one. That was not the one I was going for, but it's even better. We have all sorts of scams. We've been recently getting calls from somebody saying they're from Medicare. They're not. They want you to give them their Medicare information so they can scam you. There are others going around, they want your bank account because they tell you that someone else is trying to get into your bank account and they'll protect you if you give them your account number and all, and they're not going to protect you. They're going to take your money. This is happening all over the country. And it's happening with more regularity every day, it seems like. We've had a number of those calls, and we just hang up on them, but some people don't. Many people have lost their entire savings. There's just all sorts of really bad things happening in the world. Always have been, though. Just think what it's like to live as a serf in the Middle Ages. They didn't have it very well either. But I want to go on to some more helpful ideas about existentialism. I mentioned Søren Kierkegaard earlier, who was a 19th century philosopher and theologian. In the 20th century, two of the main figures that stand out, and who are also theologians but existentialists, are Paul Tillich and Martin Buber. So it's not all atheistic, though. The majority of existentialists, or the ones that are known, are atheists, or at least not believing in any certain religion. And though we do often treat people poorly, each other, from time to time, and some people in very terrible ways. Murder is up in many parts of the country. We also see all sorts of ideas of kindness. There are people who will do anything to help someone else, it seems like. We recently were shopping at Kroger, and a woman, as we were going through the checkout line, a woman from the next line said something to our checker, and we didn't hear what she said. But she gave her a card. I didn't even know for sure what kind of card it was. I couldn't tell. But after she left, our checker says, your bill's paid for by the woman that's next line. She just paid our whole bill, and it was pretty expensive because we were really filling up on stuff. That sort of thing doesn't happen often, but it does happen. There are still people in this country and even in Texas and Oklahoma who will treat people well. We also have great organizations that help people, both here and at home. Both here and around the world. We have all sorts of philanthropic organizations that do good works. One that we support was started by some members of our church who no longer attend, but were members of our church. What were their names, Marion? Of course, Dr. Wade, but also, can't think of their names right now. Chuck and his wife. Janine, yeah. They have a charity that helps children in Grace Hospital, Children's Hospital in Haiti. They haven't been the last few years. They used to go over a few times a year. And of course, they also raise money. They do the huge bike ride out in West Texas each year to raise money for it. Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the world right now, and they do a lot of good work working with children in Haiti. And then we have great organizations like Amy, who started our own Earth Day Festival and runs it each year with help from many members of this church. I won't try to name everybody who helps with it. That'd be more than I can do. But it focuses on ways to improve our relationship to the environment and ways to help save the earth from total destruction, which we seem to be trying to do our best to do, destroy it as a society. But I think the greatest acts of generosity that we as people do is love. Not only romantic love, but compassion toward others, friendship, love in any form for our fellow humans. We do, as I say, mention the philanthropic organizations that help people around the world. Also, we have organizations that help animals around the world, and that's important too. I'm really fond of the Miracles poem by Walt Whitman, and I agree with all those little miracles, just little miracles, like sunrise, and flowers that come, and bees, as long as they don't sting me, and insects of other kinds and all that. These are great little miracles. But none of these types of love are explained by reason. They are explained by emotion, by our capacity for love. And they're not predictable at all. Just as much life is not predictable, they happen. We can't always expect others to be kind, generous, loving, even though we may act like towards them with anger, hostility, cruelty. Sometimes that comes unexpectedly, sometimes we can see it coming. But we as individuals can use our own free will to bring light, love, and goodness into the lives of others. And I think that's the greatest message of the hopeful existentialism.
Thank you. We rejoice in sharing. We rejoice in caring. We rejoice in loving. We rejoice in giving of ourselves, both time and treasure. The bowl awaits, or you may donate online.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with the wind, let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child before the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Within the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
I invite you to. I wasn't expecting that. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for the benediction and extinguishing the chalice. In conclusion this morning, please hear these words by Cheryl Block as we go forward. As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer our comfort to the afflicted, our love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe. Please join me in saying the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, return in love.